move the amendment. Okay. You're fine. Do your thing. I want you to show that I don't have to do the honor.
But yeah, actually, we had to shut the office down last week. That was tough because, you know, we're getting busy. I mean,
Were you able to work from home at all?
I was able to answer to emails and stuff. The problem was my laptop was already at the office, so.
I think about that because I always take it home on the weekends, but I don't.
I have a tablet. I was able to answer the emails and all that, but
all of your stored
well, you know,
files.
just Zoom. I told everybody they could only go into if they had to do payroll. W-2s or 1099s.
And stay separated. Yeah.
Yeah.
The girls were like, how'd you get the extra eggs? I said, I guess I can't count.
I was jokingly saying, "Shit, like, I'm not going this again," because I actually did sneak in on the weekend. Like, I can't do this. I'm going to be like bombarded. I'm not going to know what to do.
Okay, since we've all said the Lord's Prayer so many times, I got to, there's like a whole big printout of 18 pages of Rotary invocations.
Well, how cool was that?
Oh,
So
great.
I found one today. So it is good to recognize how different we are, our talents, our dreams, our backgrounds, our occupations. It is good to know that when you created each of us, you broke the mold. No one is exactly like anyone else. Even our thumbprint and our voice track tell us how unique we are. Yet we thank you that we can take these differences and mobilize them for the good of Rotary and our community. In our differences, we can think the same thoughts and move together toward a common goal. Bless us as we meet together. Thank you for our individuality and also for our common bond of Rotary. Amen.
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 I just thought that was something kind of.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Things over and over. The pledge is next. I took myself out on my prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I did for that today. Would you all join me in the saying of the four-way test of the things we say or do?
First is the truth.
Second is fair to all concerned. Third will build goodwill and better friendship. Fourth will be beneficial to all concerned.
I told you, I got myself out of my. It did. Go back to the old one next week.
I have about how many of those folders in your store?
Okay. It started out right this morning. I've had 3 Mondays this week. Did we receive the application from Crystal Martin, Sharon?
I
gotta take that
don't
off.
know, did we, Josh? Did
Yeah.
she send this?
I was asking them if we had received.
Yeah, you know if we voted last week on the lunches? Okay, so
Our
they're
next-
still being covered.
Yeah, our next meeting.
Yeah, Crystal Martin.
2 weeks from now on that.
2 weeks from now, then we start going around.
I thought she sent it.
Katrina, do you know if Crystal sent that application? Nope, don't want to put you on the spot. That's okay if you don't.
I don't. She said that she did.
Okay.
I thought she did.
I thought she said she sent it to, I think,
Okay.
Sharon.
Yes.
I think.
Yep, got it. I'm sending it to you, Josh.
Thanks, Katrina.
Okay, thanks.
Is Brown on there?
Not yet.
It's not on there. And I have been in contact with Shelley Thomas about the Wellspring donation. This will be our second donation with our grant money. She has been in contact with Chris from there, and they will be sending her a list of the items that they need for this round. And she will do the purchasing again and just have it shipped there because of all the quarantine stuff. And now with the weather, they actually follow the school schedule. So
On a side note, you got engaged.
yes,
Mhm.
Shelley did get engaged at Blackwater Falls. So it was, I'm sure, very beautiful. Let's see. Shelley has also, we went back and forth here on a couple of things. She has applied for 2 different grants. The first one was a grant through EQT, and she filed to expand our efforts for the aid of Marshall County infants. They had a category for Marshall, Wetzel, Tyler, So hopefully they have funds designated for each of those areas. And since we didn't ask for too much, she said we will receive something. She put a lot of detail and information into the past efforts and what we would do additionally. And their response was that the Executive Operating Committee and Board of Directors will meet within the next 6 to 8 weeks and review all applications. And if they needed any more information from us, they would contact us. The second one, she also applied for, that she was going to apply for the United Way of the Upper Ohio Valley Southwest Energy Grant. And again, the funds will be used towards Wellspring. She did speak to Chris and they did not apply for it, so hopefully we can get it and continue to help with the partnership with them. So that was that. I feel I'll just come up here because I got a lot of things to talk about today. Katrina sent us, some of us, an email the day that I wasn't here on our last brainstorming, talked about different ways to put us out there. So she did contact the chamber and sent everything to Scott, and that's good to go to be put in the newsletters and everything. The Echo was a little misunderstanding there with, they do charge, we thought nonprofits would get something in for free. They do not do that. A 2x2 ad is $10.60 per day. A 3x2 ad is $15.90 per day. So in her email, that does not seem very price effective or cost effective for us. So she didn't know whether, just some things to talk about, whether we wanted to do an ad like one Monday or, a Monday for a month, veto it all together. She said that she could reach out to Scott and get a list of the members of the chamber, and we could mail or send an email blast to like the businesses. Some of that might be overkill because some of the businesses are probably ours, but yet what does the overkill? Yeah, what does the overkill hurt? So she said we can also boost the post on Facebook for a relatively inexpensive one-time price of $10 to $20 as well. So I don't know what everybody's thoughts. To me, that seems, 2x2 is not very, are we even going to get noticed?
Well, the thing is with the Echo is we can take pictures and send them in with the story, and it's going to be a heck of a lot bigger than 2x2. And
Right.
people are going to read it. I don't honestly think that a little ad is going to get us anybody. And the people that would see it are going to be seeing it in the chamber chatter anyway.
I couldn't remember when we were sending stuff in for the 4-H, if they would run like the little, like some of the clubs would put the Baylor's 4-H met on, have their monthly meeting on such and such a date. And I don't think they charged for that. So I don't
That's
know
a
if
story.
that's something
Oh,
that,
and like the Lions puts in before the meeting, what they're going to have for their program.
would it be something that, but again, I don't know how many people that actually read the Echo cover to cover are going to be interested or able enough. I know my in-laws read it from cover to cover. I don't want to put stereotypes. People.
Not that big, I read it.
Yeah, but I'm saying I don't know how much that would even
I don't think that's
get
going to boost our, for the money we spent, I don't think that's going to boost. But maybe boost on Facebook might. What do you think, Ashley?
I think if the choice is down to the two, I think a Facebook boost would be more effective and cost us less. Or do we want to just hold off and just hopefully have our club share it and
If
then
everybody
have
would
the
share it, I mean,
and have
we
the
don't need a boost to go out there to the
chamber
world.
share it?
If we would all share it and people could see our shares.
Well, let's start with the chamber. Yeah, get that out there and make sure we're sharing. The newsletter comes out every Monday, isn't it, Katrina?
Yes, every Monday.
Yeah, it was in this Monday's.
Awesome.
Yes.
Rotary District 7.45, did you see this?
Yes, I think that's
Did you all see
one.
this?
The launch of a District 7545 Facebook
Yeah,
page.
this is what it looks like.
Okay.
No, not
I
the
seen
page.
the email. I
They've
didn't
got the
see.
page, and they're gonna put this particular one says, think you know Rotary, bet you don't. New passions, new structures, new energy, and excitement. Find out more, email, and they email is joinrotary@gmail.com. it's the district, but then they would direct them back to us.
That goes with this email here
Yeah.
that I got.
But they're gonna do, like, these are pretty noticeable because they're blue. They're gonna do more than one. I don't know how many, but they're gonna keep doing that. So if when these come out, we share it and share our thing about the weekly meetings, I can't help but think that would help.
Actually, I like the thing that you do, pick something up last week about our meeting that I could share. Yours I couldn't, but somebody else had it and I could share.
Well, usually I really like tighten up my security on my page because I always hit some weird stuff. Yeah. But I always share it to the Mount Rotary page and you'll be able to share it from there.
President Stacy,
Yes.
myself as an old timer, I think a picture's worth 1,000 words. And I think we do a lot in the community, and I think what we need to do is get pictures on the front page of the Echo now and then, like the Lions Club does, that says Rotary presenting,
Oh,
Wellspring,
yeah.
Wellspring, or scholarship, everything that we do, you know, not every day, not every week, but at least once a month, get a picture out there of us presenting a check or something like that, because some people don't read it. Some people just look at the picture seriously. You know, say, oh, I know that person, or I know that person, then you'll read about it when it's about.
Okay, so I guess we're gonna just veto the Echo. We'll go with the chamber, share things on Facebook.
Katrina, are you PR?
Yes,
Are you PR?
I guess I'm the public image person.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't know if you meant like in my
oh, no,
like Banco job or here.
in your volunteer job, in this fall. So if you could maybe, like, when the things that I put on Facebook, you just copy and paste that and send it into the Echo.
Yeah.
And that way, I'll be able to get it in.
Yes. Yeah.
Stuff you send to them.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to ask him. But I know before I've sent pictures and it's been in there and I've never paid for anything. So I'm assuming that would be okay. Yeah.
No, you don't have to ask him. Let's just send it in a story.
Oh, okay.
Pay for it.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Okay.
There'll be one on there today after our shoot.
Okay, this kind of goes, the Rotary Leadership Institute, RLI, they're having a seminar on Saturday, March 13th. The registration is limited to 20 people. If anyone is interested, some of us were talking before the meeting, that it would be a good thing. It says the virtual format will continue the traditional fast-paced interaction and emphasize leadership skills and knowledge of Rotary. If you have not attended RLI, please consider attending this virtual event. You'll learn what other clubs are doing to strengthen their clubs. Sessions for part one include the roots of Rotary, My Club and Beyond, engaging members, our foundation, and creating service projects. So there is a link. I can actually send this out. I'm not sure if it went out to everyone or just.
I'm guessing. Did everybody get this? I was guessing it was everybody.
So that's something we even talked about if we could all, I have a hard time where I live with being able to stay. I might get on Zoom and I might be on there for 5 minutes or these kind of things. And then I'm gone because I live out there in this little section of the world where we kind of, we're in the space-time for God, you know, we haven't progressed a whole lot out there. You think with the big Williams plant beside it, things would be a little different, but it's not.
Crawling up on the hill.
So, yeah, right. We have been very late before, we still have a landline because our cell phone didn't work. Well, then when the landline goes out, we would trek to the top of the hill, make the calls, you know, bundle up. We gotta go make a phone call.
My preteens were up there, his jacket's going.
Yeah. Yep. Been there, done that, not just the kids. Like, I got to call somebody. But we kind of talked about maybe even if there's enough people interested, and we can get in if we can actually do the registration. meeting somewhere and making it just kind of like a little, like say we would use this one if it was available. Have everybody here, you pay for your meal because it is an 8-hour type meeting thing. Just something like that. So that's an idea. If anybody has any other.
Can I just, I don't know who all wasn't here when we were talking about it. RLI is awesome, you guys. If you, is anybody gone? Anybody that's in here? Okay, so y'all need to go. It really strengthens the way you feel about Rotary, first of all. And it's a lot of the things that we've done over the years for membership are things that I got at RLI. I've done all 3 of them. I've not done the one to be certified teacher yet because the only one I could go to was in North Carolina. And these are usually, we used to have them in Morgantown. Of course, we don't have anywhere anymore. But the closest it ever is Morgantown. Sometimes it's in Charleston. And usually you have to go somewhere else to go to RLI. It's really good information. I mean, it's a day. Yeah, at your computer. You can watch it in your sweats. Yeah. Well, you might want to put something nice on.
Kind of like the mall.
Yeah, I saw the 2020 mall.
Party in the back, you're dressed up here and up
Right.
here.
But seriously, we should have some people to do this. And I can't, because I'm done. You come to my house, though, I'll party with you.
Okay, so if anybody is interested, maybe I'll send out a thing too and say, hey, if anybody's interested in this, let's get together, see how many of us, 20 is not, for everybody that this went out to, 20 is not a very big registration amount. So we'll check into that. Oh, the registration is $35. Okay.
Did we pay for that? Oh, we paid for, we go to RLI. Yeah. So
Okay.
I paid for my own, but I went before. I thought we paid for it.
That's all too.
Tomorrow, or it's not, in mind, it's a district conference. It's because they have a Zoom tomorrow, I'll find out more.
I left a message with Stacy Dye about getting some volunteer opportunities through them. They are starting up the mobile food pantry again in March. They're going to run it through March to June.
Okay.
So she was in a conference call. They're going to have her get back to me. And I told her, I said, I'm not just limiting it to that. If you are going to do other projects, things that you need volunteers and help with, please get in touch with me. So they're going to send me a list of things. They can maybe get us some community service, get us out there a little bit.
You know what we're going to need to do? We talked about it before. Dorothy's in charge of it, but we were going to get shirts because some of us have shirts, Rotary shirts. But if we're going to get out in the community and do these things, we need to have a shirt that says we're Rotaries, kind of get our name out. I don't know if we want
Get
to.
in touch with Dorothy.
I ordered one. I
I think
for it.
everything was
But
put on
she should
hold.
actually turn an order in. So we might need to do
Okay, let
that.
me get in touch with her. Couple other things before we turn it over. Ashley reached out to the Holiday Inn, and she's going to meet with them and share. I did print off some of the trifold things, a Rotary pamphlet. So if anybody wants to take any of these, in case anybody does ask you what Rotary is about, you kind of got something to give them. And Sharon had sent a link of the community service project. So Ashley's going to meet with them. They were very receptive to meeting. They're going to order for the hotel and everything. And they are interested in becoming a member. Becky's email, well, that was the one that we touched on the join Rotary. Ashley, okay, and then these are a couple of things that the chamber are doing. And this is for this benefits the high school scholarship. They are doing a match fundraiser, and it says we support Marshall County.
okay.
They are $8. So that's something we just need to contact the chamber. Help them with that. They're available at the chamber office. They are also doing a candy grant. You prepay $10. Free delivery February 12th. There's a card with a lollipop, chocolate rose, Valentine's straws, Valentine's fortune cookie, and a Valentine's bag. So that's another fundraiser thing that they're doing. And there's a one-time $1 processing fee if you use the credit card. If anybody wants these, I do have some of them up here. Is there anything anybody else knows of before we turn it over to Ms. Lynn?
Oh, I wanted to tell everybody, Mary Margaret had a stroke last week.
Oh.
Ooh.
So Peterson, right now, I guess her left side.
Oh.
Peterson. I think she's there now. They were going to move her.
Do you have an address?
I'll give an address.
Okay. I'll bring a card next week, maybe we'll pass it around.
Oh, the name will be here. Wait, we're at my second one.
I'm gonna move this so Linda's not looking at my food.
Well, I'm going
I'll
to
go
see,
visit my kids.
I'm going to, you can do that, I'm going to a nephrologist.
I'm gonna show you how honest I am. It was 2 weeks ago that I didn't have $1 on me to pay my fine,
Yeah, we
so.
want you to come up.
They were telling me you were just not coming because you were trying to get out of paying your
Only
money.
Sharon said that.
All that time I still couldn't break, all this time I still couldn't break that 20 I had for 2 weeks. So I just went up there just now.
Okay, we do have our vocational speaker today, and that's Miss Linda Miller. So I will move out of the way.
Go,
You.
go,
Don't trip over this chair.
She feeling lucky?
I'm just gonna do
Good
that.
afternoon, everyone. My name is
Afternoon.
Linda Miller. Yesterday afternoon, or after 4, I'm sitting on my couch watching yet another rerun of Class. Can't ever get enough of College Place. And I got a text from Miss Sharon asking me to do this. I thought, okay, I can talk about myself. So I got a piece of paper and just started jotting things down. And as I went through my life, it brings back a lot of memories. It's kind of neat sometimes to sit and just go down memory lane. And you think back to what all you've been through and what all you've enjoyed and not enjoyed. But starting with, I grew up in McMacken, moved to Moundsville about 35 years ago, so that's it, McMacken, Moundsville. When, about 2 weeks after I turned 6 years old, my dad came home one day, didn't feel good, laid on the couch 3 hours later, he was dead from a heart attack. I was 6, my brother was 3, my sister was 1, and my mother was pregnant with Kenny. So poor mom, she cleaned houses, and we grew up very poor. I mean, very poor. When our school shoes got holes in them, they became our play shoes, and we put cardboard in them. I always tell George that's why I have 50 pairs of shoes in the bottom of the closet right now. It's to make up for my poor childhood. But I went grades 1 through 8. I went to St. James, grew up Catholic, went to St. James in McMacken. Then when it came time for high school, instead of going on to Bishop Donahue because we couldn't afford the tuition, I went to Union High School. Went there for 3 years, and I got to be in the very first graduating class at John Marshall in 1969. It was quite an experience. We went from 60 some in our class to 400 and some in the class down there. And I'm proud to say I graduated 20th in a class of 400 and some. So my mother must have done something right bringing me up. Anyhow, it was summer, and I went and put my applications in. And I went over to the Bank of McMacken, was the bus stop. And I went over to catch the bus to Wheeling to put my application in at the telephone company. Because back then, that's where you went to make money, and it was a nice job and job security, and this is what I wanted to do. And my mother said, while you're there, why don't you put your application in at the bank? I said, oh no, Mom, say people work there forever. You know. Well, you know how mothers are, so I went in and applied at the bank. Got on the bus and went to Wheeling. I babysat through the summer, and in October, I got a call from the telephone company and from the bank the very same day. What are the odds? So talking it over with my mother, I really wanted to go to the telephone company. It was in Wheeling. Of course, back then, you didn't have a car when you were a freshman in high school. I had no car. My mother said I could have a car when I got a job. I could afford one, the insurance. So anyhow, if I would have taken the telephone company job, I would have had to work shifts, and that would leave me at midnight on the streets of Wheeling waiting on a bus. That wasn't gonna happen on her watch. We lived 3 blocks away from the bank, so I could walk. I could go home at lunchtime and have a sandwich and go back, rather than going window shopping and Wheeling and the big city and doing all that. But my mother turned out to be right, because banking turned out to be a very good choice. I started at the Bank of McMacken in October of 1969. I was the receptionist. I answered the telephone, I typed letters for the president, I greeted visitors, I opened new accounts. And then when one of the girls left from the teller line to have a baby, I moved up to teller. I did the teller work, which involves taking deposits, cashing checks, taking loan payments, that sort of thing. That was back when the bars were on the window and you scrape your knuckles from sliding things under. Things have come a long way since then. From there, I went to bookkeeping, worked in bookkeeping department. Then I worked the proof department, which is a machine that sorts all of the checks and deposits and everything as you put them through. Back then, you have to realize this is 50 years ago. Back then, if you had a checking account at our bank, you could come in and buy book checks for $1. There'd be 20 checks in there for $1. They were all white with the burgundy fancy Bank of McMacken. And they had no account number. You signed your name. Okay, it's like, how does this work? Well, at the end of the day, you can take this great big table in the back and you sort through the checks and you put them in alphabetical order. And that evening, somebody goes through ledger cards and gets a typewriter and types, Bonnie has $100, did a check for 20, subtracted on the adding machine, her new balance is $80. Seriously. This was before account numbers, before routing numbers. As far as locally, we had what they call local clearing. They had like a local clearinghouse. And what you would do is we would sort, this is what the proof machine did. It was programmed to, it would sort mercantiles checks, and it would sort Security National, Wheeling Dollar. And at the end of the day, we'd run lists, double lists on them to make sure they came out right. The next morning, I would take them up to what is now West Banco, and we would all trade. Somebody would come from Moundsville, from Mercantile and such. This didn't all go through the Federal Reserve and didn't go through electronically. We just traded batches of checks, took them back, and posted them off the accounts. 50 years ago, we've come a long way, baby. Then I was cashier, and finally I was vice president. You have to realize this was back in the day when it was a good old boys thing. Women didn't get a lot of the higher positions, even in banking. And finally made it to vice president. Charlie Miller comes in. I don't know if you all are familiar with Charlie or not. Some of you are not. He was quite a character. Charlie was very persistent. He would come in, every time he come in the bank, he'd stop back to my office and say, Linda, come to Rotary. You need to join Rotary. I'd say, Charlie, I don't have time. I'm busy here. No, you need to come. In my mind, Rotary was this good old boys organization with all these businessmen in their suits. And here's this small town girl at the bank, and he wants me to come be a part of it. Again, Charlie was persistent. On and on and on he went. Finally, one day I said, Charlie, if I come to Rotary with you today, will you leave me alone? Yes, just come one day. I promise I'll never ask you again. Okay, we're gonna do this. I thought, what can it hurt? I'm gonna go down, it was at the guest house then. I'm gonna go sit at the table with just a couple people and make some conversation, leave, Charlie will leave me alone. Okay, I walk into the guest house. Guess what? It was Charlie's 40th anniversary as a Rotarian. They had a surprise party for Charlie. They had a big cake. Congratulations, they had balloons, and they seated Charlie and I at the head table. So there I am, all of a sudden, I'm at the head table, I'm cutting up cake and passing it out to all these, big shot businessmen. Everyone was so nice. I did not feel slighted at all. At that time, you have to realize there were only like 2 women in the Rotary Club, the rest were all men. They were so nice to me. I've been coming back ever since. This was in the early 90s, and by the year 2000, the big Y2K, when anything could happen, it did. I became the first president of the Moundsville Rotary Club, which was quite an honor. So that's that about my Rotary. Okay, in 1998, West Banco acquired the Bank of McMacken. So I'm going from a big fish in a little sea to a little fish in a big sea. It was quite an adjustment. I was going from actually sitting in the board meetings and recommending what rates we should do on our CDs, what rates we should charge on our loans, to going and listening to them tell me what we were going to do. And some things I didn't really agree with, but that didn't really matter. Anyhow, as far as education, again, St. James, first 8 years, John Marshall 4. I did get to go in the 70s to West Virginia Banking School. It was a 3-year thing at Davis and Elkins College. And then in the 80s, I got to attend the Graduate School of Banking at Madison, Wisconsin. This was a 3-year, we would go for 2 weeks for 3 years. In the rest of the year, every 6 months, we would turn in papers. So I learned a lot there. That was very interesting, met a lot of good people. I learned a lot about banking I didn't know. I feel like I was very blessed because going from a small bank, I understood each department. I knew why Proof would get mad if the teller forgot to put the account number on legibly. I knew why this happened and this happened. Whereas people in a bigger bank, if you just have one function, I think that would get terribly boring doing the same thing over and over and not understanding why the people down the hall are doing it this way. So that worked out well. Another part of the banking industry that came along with CRA, Community Reinvestment Act. Okay, this I could do. This was going out in the community and mingling with people. I like people. You may not have noticed I'm a people person. So for the CRA, I would go out and you would get credits. And actually it's the bank giving back to the community since the community is supporting the bank with their business. And I became a member of the Salvation Army Board and Chamber of Commerce. I was president of the Chamber of Commerce. I volunteered for a lot of things. Change Inc. has a needs program, and I would do counseling if you needed to get assistance on any of your energy bills. They would help you out. If you came back a second time, you had to spend an hour with Linda listening to budgeting advice, telling you the difference between wants and needs. You would be amazed at what some people think are needs.
I'd like to hire you out.
Right?
Well, and I did other counseling. I would go to the Housing Authority, McInerney Housing Authority, talk to the clients there. Again, this is a forced attendance. These people had to come in order to get their rent reduced, and I would talk to them about wants, needs, and saving. We'd go to the schools, which I think was a good thing. Senator McMecken was our partner in education. I would go there and talk about savings. April was a savings day they had every year that you would go and teach them. I think you need to start at an early age teaching children about the art of saving, not spending every penny they get. Went to the high schools, John Marshall, Donahue, and taught classes on credit counts of credit. I think that when the students would graduate from high school, as soon as they turn 18, they start getting these things in the mail, credit card, you're approved up to $500. Okay, some people, oh, but other people like $500 and my monthly payment's gonna be $10 a month. I can afford that. Let's go to the mall and get that new stereo set. Seriously, and they don't understand the pitfalls of getting caught in that and how much money you actually have to pay back. So I would go and do classes about that. One quick story that I thought, you think you don't impact someone's life, but I used to go to Senator McMacken and I would teach them about that, and I would read to them and I would ask them questions about what I'd read, and I would give them a silver dollar, whoever won the thing. So about 2 weeks before I retired, I'm coming down through Glendale, it's late at night. I'd been to my sister's, we'd been playing games, and a police thing starts going behind me. Thinking, what's that all about? So I pulled into where Rutten Bucks is now, it was Young's back then, and the police officer gets out, comes over to the car, and I roll down the window and wanted to see my license and registration, and I hand it out and looks at it, and all at once this voice says, Mrs. Miller, do you still work at the bank? And I said, yes, I do, for about 2 more weeks. And I looked out and I said, is that you, Petey? He said, yes, ma'am. He said, you know, I still have that silver dollar I won off of you when I was in 2nd grade. Oh. And I thought, how cool is that? You know, you think you're just doing things, but people do remember. So that was kind of nice. Did you get the ticket?
Right, yeah, we want to know more. Were you arrested? Did you go to
I
prison?
did not actually, he called it in and I had nothing against me. And the reason he pulled me over is he said I went across the line. There was no one else on the road. I crossed the line and you're apparently not allowed to do that. I said I crossed the line because I was avoiding the potholes that were there. And it was the truth. And then later, I don't know if you know Jim Gardell, he had taken me to lunch up in Wheeling for my graduation, and we're talking, and I was telling about it. And he said that he was the one who would have been the judge had I had to go to trial. Would I have died or what? So that was kind of neat. Anyhow, I did retire on May 1st, 2015. So it's been almost 6 years. I cannot believe that, almost 6 years. When I was doing the CRA and in the thick of things, a lot of it I did because I felt I had to because of my job, but a lot of it I did because I enjoyed it. The good thing was once I retired, I could kind of slide out of the things that I didn't, but you'll notice 6 years later, I'm still there at Rotary every Wednesday. So this is one of the things I enjoyed. Thank you, Charlie, wherever you are. I think that's about it. Does anybody have any questions? Banking back then was so different. I mean, it's unreal.
I got a couple.
Okay,
First question is, you were in the first graduating class at John Marshall.
I was.
Remember who the first quarterback was?
At John Marshall?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was a scholar. I wasn't a sports person.
It was
You?
my Uncle Tom Tweedley.
I knew Tom.
Yeah, he was the first quarterback.
I knew Tom.
Class of 1969 there.
Yeah.
It was him and some other guy. They sort of were going back and forth, I think. Secondly, what was it like working in the 1980s? Because the interest rates here were very high.
Oh, my goodness, they were. And I'll tell you what, we had CDs. Seriously, at one point, if you had a CD at my bank, you were getting 16% interest. 16%
The loan,
interest.
on the other side of things, getting a loan was really hard.
Exactly, that was a different. But another cute story, my grandmother calls me one day. She says, Nina, call me Nina. She says, Nina, I don't want to make you mad, but I'm going to have to take my money out of your bank. And I said, why? She said, because your interest thing keeps going down. She said, I use that interest to go to the bingo. That's my bingo money. This was when the rain started falling. They said, Mom, they're falling everywhere. They're the same if you take it somewhere else. Well, she didn't like it. She thought I needed to do something about it because her interest was her bingo money. Okay. Exactly.
I think my dad told me that when he and my mom bought their first house in the early 80s, their interest rate was like 15%. I mean, that's how high they were back then.
And when I
Of course,
started,
real estate wasn't as expensive back then, but still the interest.
well, here's the thing too, when I started at the bank, if you had a mortgage loan with us, you had a little book. Same with savings, you bought it and you posted it, but mortgage, you had a little book. Most of the home loans had a balance of around $2,000, $3,000. Okay, they came in to make their payment. They would give you the payment. You would go behind the counter to the adding machine. You would let them see the interest rate at the top of the book, and you would, this is what the interest is, this is what the payment, subtract the difference, put it in there, subtract it off their balance, that's the new thing. Can you imagine? It just, everything was manual back then. It come a long way. But as far as vocational, and how many of you right now are doing what you thought you would be doing when you were 6 or 10 or 12?
Or
I didn't
20.
grow up. Some people say, I want to be a doctor when I grow up. You know, I want to be a teacher. I didn't say I want to be a banker when I grow up. It was fate that took me there on that day. And on the day that I was at the board meeting and I was appointed vice president of the bank in McMacken, and I went home that evening and I called my mother. Needless to say, I got a big, I told you so. Thank you all very much.
Who was
Yes.
president of the bank, McMacken, when you started?
Mr. Summers, William G. Summers. Do you remember him? And this was after there was a fellow named Reed who had embezzled and gotten caught before that.
And that was Reed Garland.
Reed Garland,
That's
yes.
Reed
reason I asked.
This
I
was,
wasn't-
no, this was right after Reed Garvin, but, yes, Bill Summers was. And, very nice fellow, very helpful. When we bought our first house for $10,000 on 21st Street in McMacken. I know, $10,000. It did not have a furnace in it. They used the heaters in the thing to put a furnace in. And he came to me one day and said, if you need to borrow money to put in a furnace, he said, I can help you, no interest. I could just give him a check every month personally, because I was already getting the loan for the $10,000 house. He knew we were young and didn't have much money. So that's the kind of fellow you were dealing with. And over the first few years, I would see people come back to Mr. Summers' office and slide him a check. So, yeah, they were different times. Yes.
They were different times, and just talk about what things cost and stuff, Mike, this is, so back in 1976, we bought a motorcycle. It was brand new, 750 Kawasaki, nice bike. We paid $2,400 for it. And I clearly remember when we got it saying, oh my gosh, we spent what we would have spent for a car.
Yeah.
$2,500 would have bought a car in 1976.
Yes, it
Those
would.
bikes don't last, you know, as long as the car, you know.
Well, that's pretty good.
Oh, really?
Of course, you have to realize, I think my first 2-week pay was like $75.
Right.
And I owed most of it to my mother because I had to buy clothes that would fit for a bank. I had a navy blue sleeveless dress that had a white jacket and a red sash. You would be amazed how many different ways you could have outfit you can make out of that. And my first several pays now partially went to my mother for my, again, that's why I have 3 closets full of clothes. So, it's been a good life. Right now, I'm living in Moundsville still with my husband, George Miller, who I'm very, very blessed to have. This October, we will celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
I could not have done any better. The man's recently taken up cooking, yay. Thank you very much.
Good job, Linda.
Does anybody have
Good
anything
job.
else? Okay, if not, guys, I guess we're done for another week.
I need a
Bye, Katrina. Thank you.
Bye, Katrina.
Bye, Katrina.
Oh, really?
Linda, my first job was running one of them. We did have account numbers. Oh, you got numbers then? Yeah.